What's up everybody, Caesar Madrazo here, and we are back with more Doki Doki Blue Skies. Now, we ended the last episode amidst the school break-in Halloween party, and Monika mentioned that they were about to move on to the main events. So, let's see exactly what these main events are, and what kind of strange shenanigans we can get into this time. Here we go. Who wants to share their poem first? That's the main event? They're sharing poems? Okay. It's just when you break into a school, I would think that, you know, there's some sort of, some debauchery going on. Like, you know, sneaking into the teacher's lounge or, like, the back of the cafeteria or someplace that students wouldn't normally go. But, okay, we're sharing poems in the room that we always share poems in at school. So, yeah, exciting party. Who wants to share their poem first? Oh, shouldn't this say, who do I share my poem with? Or, okay, I guess they decided that Caesar should pick the first person to go. Then, okay, let's have Natsuki go first. Natsuki doesn't even give an intro? Okay. So let's read, I guess, Natsuki's poem here. The Dark. Sometimes I lie awake at night, sitting in a room devoid of light, and think about the monsters waiting in the dark. I can't even imagine what they look like. Maybe sharp claws and skin lined with spikes. Maybe a mouth that could swallow me whole. Maybe red eyes that could pierce my soul. They could eat me right now if they wanted, yet they wait. Waiting for me to close my eyes. Waiting for me to dream of the light. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But now I'm thinking about the monsters, and I'm still lying awake in the dark. Pretty good Halloween poem, I'd say. Yeah, I know, it's not great. Actually, I quite like it, Natsuki. It's pretty obvious that horror is something out of your comfort zone, but you did an exceptional job at combining your style of writing with horror. Fear is a very complex emotion, so it's a challenge putting it into simple words, but I'd say you did quite well. I would have to agree with Monika. Fear isn't something that is meant to be completely understood. The complexity behind what a person fears and why they're afraid of it is almost unfathomable. Not always. I mean, if you're afraid of snakes, it's probably because they're poisonous and it hurts to get bitten by a snake. It doesn't always have to be complex. Your poem is about the fear of the dark, or more specifically, a fear of the unknown, yes? Yeah. Just, I don't like not knowing what's there. I don't like not feeling safe. My poem is all about how your imagination plays tricks on you when you're in the dark. You know there's no such thing as monsters, but like, you can never be completely sure. That's what scares me, that uncertainty. I can relate. But as I was saying, it's certainly a feat encapsulating something as complex as fear into 4 simple stanzas. Again, I don't think fear is all that complex. I mean, some fears can be complex, like, you know, a person might have a phobia, and that phobia could be, like, there could be some pretty complex reasons as to why a person is afraid of something. Like hoarders, for example, some of the reasons that people are afraid to throw anything away, you know, it can be pretty different from person to person. So that sort of fear can be complex, but, you know, I feel like most fears aren't really all that hard to figure out. Natsuki smiles proudly. What can I say? I'm good at what I do. Yeah, well done, not spooky. Sayori, if you call me that one more time, I'll... Anyway, moving on. Okay. So, let's do Yuri next then. Okay. Ethereal. Somber sounds of midnight malice. Floating around a chastised chalice. Riding otherworldly winds. Letters torn from nails pinned. A looming figure takes my hand, leading me through with sympathy canned. Cumbersome weights ride my shoulders with a serenity of fallen boulders. Their words are muffled by lament. False reassurance fails to dent the fierce facade of fleeting fear. Time is lost, no longer here. Cobalt nerves, fractured soul, with the luminescence of coal. Clacking footsteps from below. Echo, 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 echo. So that poem was a little less complex, quite a bit less complex than most of Yuri's poems in this mod, I'd say. Or at least the original poems. This one seems to be more about just setting an atmosphere rather than being about any specific thing. It just sounds, frankly, you could have entitled this poem, Things That Remind Me of Halloween. Anyway, excuse me. For a moment, the room is silent. Oh, I went too far, didn't I? No. No, it's just the kind of thing we're looking for. Would you like to tell us what you were thinking when you wrote this? Okay. Yuri takes a deep breath. It's a bit hard to describe, but sometimes there are nights where my mind just seems to be full of noise. Nights where I can hear. She trails off absent-mindedly. Did she get caught up in her own poem that much? Hey, Earth to Yuri! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked. It's okay, Yuri, don't feel like you have to rush. Yeah, take your time. Right. Well, as I was saying, I wanted to try and capture the feelings one might have on a bit of a dark night. Yeah, setting an atmosphere. Wait, aren't all nights dark? It's a metaphor, Sayori. I think Yuri is trying to talk about when people are going through a difficult time. That's right, Caesar. The dead of night can be very fickle. It can be a peaceful time as the world around us winds down, but sometimes being alone with our thoughts can be terrifying. This poem was an attempt to reclaim some of that darkness. Well, I think you did a great job with that, Yuri. Yeah, I really liked it. You did? Thank you. Alright, now I guess we'll do Sayori. My old friend. There is a dark and hollow thing, and notice thing is capitalized, I'm going to assume that's important, that follows me close and to me clings. It sticks to me and turns in turn when I spin around and discern in the dark, in the deep, the faintest shape that it keeps. And again, it capitalized, so the words referencing whatever this entity is supposed to be, they're all capitalized. It goes away when the sunlight shines. The sun shines sweet and warm and kind, but does it really? Is it gone? Or does it secretly carry on? Is it really hiding there, staring from beneath the chair, glaring from atop the stairs, nowhere but yet everywhere? So far this seems to be just about darkness in general. Like, darkness is the absence of light, so basically anywhere, even when the sun is shining, that any light is not shining, well, there's darkness. In the corner, in the gap, I stare in, and it looks back, weighing down, draining out. So all of these poems, they seem kind of similar so far. I think if it wasn't for the different handwritings, then it would be pretty hard to figure out who wrote which poem. I'm guessing maybe the same person wrote all the poems for all the girls in this. That was very interesting, Sayori. I always enjoy seeing a poet step out of their comfort zone a little bit, especially when it comes to writing horror. What do you mean? You typically don't write darker poems, correct? Well, that's not true. I would say that Bottles is a pretty dark poem. Unless I've misinterpreted. No, you're right, Yuri. This was a real change of pace, and it was fun. Well, I'm glad my suggestion has gone down well then. I figured it would be fitting for the occasion. Don't give her too much praise. She'll start thinking she's the next Stephen King. Hey! I'd be a great horror writer. No, you wouldn't, Sayori. No, you wouldn't. Actually, no, wait, I wouldn't. I'm not a big on, like, you know, actually scary stuff. Makes sense. What's the poem about, anyway? Ooh, well, it's about whatever you think it's about. I think it's pretty obvious to me. It sounds like it's just darkness in general. Are you trying to sound like Yuri? No, silly. I didn't write it with a specific thing in mind. I think whoever wrote the poem for the mud wrote it with just any place where there's any darkness in mind. It can be about whatever you fear the most. Hiding away, always there, never leaving. Even when you think it's all sunshine and rainbows, it never truly goes away. So, it can be whatever you think it is. A terrible secret, a scary monster, a childhood fear of the dark. It could be made up, or it could be real. It doesn't just scare you, maybe whatever it is drains you as well, bit by bit. And whatever makes it scary is knowing it's always there. So again, it sounds like she's analogizing the darkness with her depression. That makes sense. Holy crap. It's safe to say that no one expected that from her. The temporary silence in the room confirms that. Natsuki frowns, evidently nonplussed by what she's heard. Even the cool, calm, collected Monika seems a little taken aback. Yuri, on the other hand, smiles contentedly, seemingly unfazed by the somber explanation coming from Sayori's mouth. Wow. Okay, it's not just me who didn't see that coming, right? Laughter fills the club room. I mean it, Sayori. Your use of metaphors and use of darker thematic imagery was very refreshing to see. Just do me a favor and don't turn into another Yuri, okay? Natsuki. Kidding, kidding. It was great, Sayori. Aw, you guys. Now we've got Monika. Whoop. Bumped the mic there. Hope that didn't make a big noise. Okay. Reverie. I wake up. Cold, black night, silent and still. I fall to my knees, splinters in my hand. Dust in the air. Cold. Where am I? I reach for the light I need. Is it there? The switch is pressed. I feel the warmth on my face and my hands and my arms and my... I wake up. It's all dark. All over. Cold. Silent and numb. I reach my hand out. I have no eyes to see, but I can feel it. I press the switch. The warmth fills me. The dark comes again. I die again. I wake up. Noise in my ears? Wait, noise in my ears. Voices? Cold. I reach out and feel nothing. Where is it? Wasn't it real? Wasn't it here? Everyone reaches, but nobody can touch it. The darkness comes again. We all die again. I wake up. Here again? So, this sounds kind of like Monika's, analogizing being trapped in the mod with sort of an endless dream sequence. What I interpreted from that was she wakes up from a dream, she reaches for the light switch, she turns it on, and there's a moment where she thinks that she's feeling warmth, but there's still no light, and then she wakes up again, as if that experience of turning on the light switch was also just another dream. And it's sort of like she's caught in this endless cycle of trying to wake up, but just discovering it was another dream. Monika bows a little bit after she finishes. I mull over what she's read. I don't really get it. That sounded like something Yuri would have written. Did it? Oh, is that a bad thing? Of course not! What does reverie mean? I don't think I've heard it before. It's an English word that means something like having a pleasant daydream. But it comes from a French word that means madness. Appropriate for Halloween, isn't it? Monika's smile is looking a bit more sinister than normal somehow. How cultured. Yuri looks a little distressed at the implication of Natsuki's sarcasm with the idea that Monika's poem sounded like something she might have written. Do both meanings relate to the poem? You could say that. What do you mean? It reflects on how a blissful act can make the pain go away. For a little while. Alright guys, all your poems have been pretty good so far. But just wait till you hear my poem. An evil grin stretches across my face as I whip out my own poem. Okay. Oh, if you're this confident, I'll be looking forward to your recitation. Ha! Did you put an extra effort into this one, Caesar? Well, not quite. What's that supposed to mean? It's not a poem that I wrote myself. Caesar! But I promise you that it's very appropriate for the occasion. This is a poem that has an urban legend attached to it. Supposedly, if you read it out loud, you'll be cursed, so that something tragic happens to you. Maybe even death. Ah! Caesar, that's so scary! I know, right? It's great. This poem is titled Tomino's Hell, written by a poet named Saijo Yaso. And it just so happens that this is the poem that I will be reading to you all. Well, you already said that. At this very moment. Caesar! Don't do it! What if something bad happens to you? Yeah, right. It's called an urban legend for a reason, you know. Emphasis on legend, as in something that's not real. Still! I'd like to see the data on all the people who have read the poem so far. I don't think there would be data for such a thing. Do they have data on people who have repeated Bloody Mary over and over again in their bathroom in the dark? And statistically speaking, it's likely that something tragic will eventually happen to you anyway. I find that there's always some element of truth behind these stories, though. Of course, this truth might not reflect the literal meaning of the stories and legends. However, there's likely a message behind the legend. Yeah, I'm not gullible enough to believe this stuff, though. Alright guys, let's settle down. You can all voice your thoughts after I read it. Interesting choice of handwriting for the player here. Tomino's Hell. Elder sister vomits blood, younger sister's breathing fire, while sweet little Tomino just spits up the jewels. All alone does Tomino go falling into that hell, a hell of utter darkness, without even flowers. Is Tomino's big sister the one who whips him? The purpose of the scourging hangs dark in his mind, lashing and thrashing him, but never quite shattering. One sure path to Avicii, the eternal hell. Into that blackest of hells, guide him now, I pray, to the golden sheep, to the nightingale. How much did he put into that leather pouch to prepare for his trek to the eternal hell? Spring is coming, to the valley, to the wood, to the spiraling chasms of the blackest hell. The nightingale in her cage, the sheep aboard the wagon, and tears well up in his eyes. Wait, in the eyes of sweet little Tomino. Sing, O nightingale, in the vast mighty forest. He screams, he only misses his little sister. His wailing desperation echoes throughout hell. A fox peony opens its golden petals. Down past the 7 mountains and 7 rivers of hell, the solitary journey of sweet little Tomino. If in this hell they be found, then may they then come to me, please. Those sharp spikes of punishment from Needle Mountain, not just on some empty whim, is flesh pierced with blood-red pins. They serve as hellish signposts for sweet little Tomino. Wow. Not sure if it's just me overthinking it, but I feel a strange chill running down my spine after reading that. Caesar! That was seriously too scary. It wasn't that scary. It was it was dark, but it was like, you know, a story. It was alright. I should probably downplay it, at least for Sayori's sake. I have to agree with Sayori. It had a very creepy, old-fashioned feel to it. After hearing that, I wouldn't doubt that something bad looms in your future. Monika! Personally, I found that poem quite beautiful. Of course, it's certainly eerie, but there are a lot of symbols and metaphors that I could pick out just from hearing that one reading. Honestly, to me, it didn't sound all that scary. I mean, it had scary themes to it, but it sounded more like a message of longing. Like, it talked about little Tomino's suffering, and it talked about whoever the author is hoping that Tomino would find his way to him or her so that he or she can help him. I think that I'll have to look into this poem more in my free time. You guys seriously think it was that scary? It was pretty meh, in my opinion. I kind of have to agree with Natsuki. The poet was clearly trying too hard to be edgy and smart. I don't think that's true, though. If I may respectfully disagree, the tone and word choice of the poem matches its content. It's not written that way simply to be edgy. Yeah, that's true. After all, if I understood correctly, Tomino was banished to hell for murdering his own parents. I didn't get that part. How'd you get that out of the poem? Well, it mentions that Tomino is on the way to Avicii, the lowest of hells in Buddhism. And killing one's parents is one way that you get sent there. Oh, well, whatever. I still don't get it, or I still don't like it. Well, you guys can agree to disagree. But whether you like the poem or not, you'd have to agree that it and the legend attached to it are pretty interesting, huh? I mean, I guess. Caesar, I'm gonna have to keep a good eye on you from now on, just in case that legend comes true. Sayori, there's probably a bigger chance that something bad will happen to you first, given how clumsy you are. Hey! We all share a laugh with Sayori joining in after a few moments of pouting. Guys, this has been so enjoyable. It's fun to scare your friends with silly pranks, and dressing up is a lot of fun. Although, I don't really like horror that much. It's just so scary to think what could be out there. Ugh. Stop being a chicken, Sayori. Hey, you're the one who got scared by Monika earlier. The girls all laugh at my expense as I let out a groan. She's never gonna let me live this one down. Touché. Anyway, it's ghost story time, right? I don't really know many ghost stories, to be honest. Sorry. But I looked on the internet to find some. Most were super long, like this one about what was it? Some kind of sleep experiment? Sayori, you're rambling. Oh, oops. Sorry, I'm new to telling scary stories. I'm curious though, guys. What sights or sounds scare you? I'll be honest with you, silence scares me, especially after I've read a gripping horror story. Is it just me who finds reversed music really creepy? My piano teacher showed me a few reversed pieces once. It just felt wrong to listen to, especially when there's vocals. You start hearing things that aren't there. I don't know. Come on, Natsuki, there has to be something out there that creeps you out. The sound of Daddy's belt? You'll just laugh. We won't. She's right, Natsuki. We've all shared. What is it? Natsuki averts her eyes, talking to the floor. The noises that children's toys make. I can kind of agree with that. Those can be pretty creepy sometimes, especially in the right atmosphere. It's like when I'm home alone and I think of like a Jack-in-the-Box playing by itself. It'd creep you guys out too. Nah, I'm with you. I've always found anything to do with children scary, especially in the dark. The sounds of babies crying, for example. Normally it's annoying, but if I heard it in the dark and there was no one else around... Ugh. Well, it's fitting you mentioned that, Caesar. Don't you remember that argument we had on Halloween back when we were like 10? No. Sayori, where's this going? We were both on our way to a Halloween party. It was pretty quiet out, so you could hear everything. I heard the sound of a baby crying, but it wasn't coming from inside anyone's house or anything. There weren't any people on the streets either, and it definitely wasn't one of them. It was coming from down a dark alley. A chill runs down my spine as I remember exactly what incident she's talking about. I remember I wanted to go out and investigate. I was scared it was a toddler in danger, but you didn't let me. You were too chicken to... Hey. Okay, we were just in a rush. But anyway, pretty creepy, right? I guess I can kind of see what you mean about babies crying being creepy. I was a bit scared myself. Looking back, I'm glad you convinced me not to go. Guess being a wimp has its perks, huh? Yuri, Sayori, and Natsuki all laugh. Monika, however, looks like she's been slapped in the face. Guys, do you not realize how lucky you were? Huh? Oh god, you guys have no idea. What? Sayori, did anything seem a bit off about the baby's cry? Sayori scrunches up her face in an attempt to recall. No, not really. Well, it did sound a bit repetitive, though. Like, the cries didn't change much. Monika's voice shakes as she replies, Guys, that's what serial killers do to lure out young women. I can't help but burst out laughing. What? Pretend to be babies? Come on, Monika. You had me going for a second there, but you kind of ruined the punchline. She looks straight into my eyes. No, Caesar. They record a clip of a baby's cries and hide the speaker in a dark place. They prey on women's maternal instincts because they know they're attracted to the sounds of infants in distress. The laughter dies on my lips as a cold, sickening silence takes its place. Oh my god. That's why the cries didn't sound natural. They just recorded a small segment and replayed it over and over. It all makes sense now, the unnatural cries in the dark alleyway. A meticulous, calculated effort to ensnare an unsuspecting victim. Wait, hang on! Didn't Miss Kasumi go missing around that time? Oh man. I feel like this is an elaborate attempt to scare everybody who's not involved. Miss Kasumi used to teach Sayori and I a long time ago. What happened to her exactly? Sayori shrugs. We were told that she moved away suddenly to work in a different part of the country, right? People used to spread really scary, horrible rumors about what happened to her, but they don't really make sense. Hang on. She had a child of her own that year, didn't she? Oh god, she did. And my parents wouldn't really discuss her whenever I asked. They were super dismissive of the whole thing. Oh man. I always wondered why. Oh my goodness. Wait, you guys actually believe that? Everyone looks at Natsuki shocked. Oh, come on. There's no way you guys almost walked into a trap. Besides, that's just an urban legend. What happened to their teacher then? She just disappeared and Caesar's parents refused to talk about it. I don't know about you, but that just seems pretty convenient for this story. Well, maybe some things are better left off unanswered, huh? Although I do hope Sayori and I are just misremembering. Well, on that cheerful note, how about we move on to the next story? That was... Alright, whose ghost story was that? I'd like to nominate Natsuki. My story? Natsuki, do you not have one? Hey, I never said that. I do, but it's just... I got it off the internet. I don't like horror. So if it's bad, it's not my fault, okay? Natsuki clears her throat. Alright guys, we've been going for about 25 minutes now, so I think we're going to save Natsuki's story for next time. I guess that replay serial killer baby thing was supposed to be Sayori's story, which if it was, then, well, good one to start with. Okay, so, poems, kind of meh. First scary story, pretty good, I have to say. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We'll see what happens with the other stories, the other ghost stories in the next episode. But until then, I'm Cesar Madrazo, and I am out.